do like to cut through and go to the convenience store sometimes, and it would be a danger for children. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to hear us, and for I hope that you read the concerned citizens who sent you emails, and I'm sure now that they have your email address, they'll be talking to you more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, what she said. Okay?
All right. Next, anyone to come up for CZ 1124?
Is anyone talking about Maplewood or?
It's and I can't guarantee that someone's not going to go after it. I kind of have to go in the order that folks raise their hand. So, if you would, sir.
Good evening, Council. My name's Jason Donovan. I am one of the newer members of Maplewood. I've been there about a year. That said, I'm also military as well, so I kind of represent the newer folks that are also rotating in and out of there that are the military and whatnot. To be completely frank, I'm not against businesses expanding or anything like that. I have a lot of family that owns quite a lot of businesses. That said, though, the issues that I currently have with that strip mall expanding, just like Sue said, the strip mall itself is already in a bit of a disarray. If he does plan on expanding, wouldn't be completely against that, except he already showed that he doesn't take care of that one. So we already have a lot of crime there behind it, whatnot. And on top of that, with that entrance onto Maplewood, if he cut that out, it'd probably be a lot more open to it. But just we're not good with that, along with the speeding and everything else. Another thing too is probably half of Goldsboro uses that for Halloween. Every year that little field there gets full of cars. I've only been here 2 years, and it's quite a sight. It's pretty cool. Makes us really happy on Halloween. Next too is I'm a bit of a tree hugger, but that tree age up front, that giant oak out there, I mean, the thing looks to be 150 years old. The thing's massive. It's gorgeous. We all actually really like it. Next is we do actually walk to those businesses, and I do enjoy the Tiger Sugar place there. Me and my wife, we like walking there. The only problem is, again, the cleanliness. There's a lot of broken glass on the ground. We can't walk our dogs there or anything, or any of that stuff that we actually like to do. So I'm actually pretty quick about it. It's just, if he updates it and makes it more neighborhood friendly, we'd be more into it. But the way it sits right now, not at all. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sir, if you come forward and introduce yourself, then we'll hear your comments.
Hi, I'm Boris Rebiuk. I live at 202 Lee Place in Maplewood. I sent you the email. My concern is, I agree with everything that's been said so far by our side. I've lived in Maplewood for 40 years now. This property was previously proposed for development years ago and was turned down. At that time, the owner agreed to make it O&I, and that has stood since then. It has been proposed for development under O&I. There was a proposal at one time for another facility similar to Brookdale. That fell through. I don't know why. But since then, nothing else has gone on in there. Problems I have are primarily with the traffic. Right now, there's only two ways in and out of Maplewood. Maplewood Drive and Smith Drive. One exits on the Berkeley, one exits on the New Hope. You know how busy both of those roads are. My sister-in-law got rear-ended on Berkeley Boulevard after she turned right out of our neighborhood. You would think that would be the easy way to go. You try to turn left out of there, you're going to be waiting a while. I'm talking about Maplewood Drive at Berkeley now. A lot of times you'll wind up turning into the center turn lane, and you may very well meet somebody else head on turning into Teakwood or somewhere else, trying to merge in the traffic. That's how bad it is. New Hope Road, That's not any better. You should all know that also. The driveway on Maplewood Drive, I'm entirely opposed to it. That would only create more congestion that we already have on Maplewood Drive. Granted, yes, supposedly for employee parking, but there's also going to be a refuse truck that's going to come in there and service that area also. And that's not going to help our congestion at all. The dry pond, I don't see any protection or anything around that facility on the drawings that were submitted so far. There's kids that walk across that area right now. The only protection I see is that they're going to plant a couple of trees. How long is the water going to sit there after we have a good storm? I don't know. I don't know how deep this thing is going to be or anything like that. There's no details. Right now, we've got a lot of businesses already on that corner. We've got pizza, at least 3 restaurants, beach bingo, a vape store, the gas station on the corner, the adjacent 5 buildings or 5 stores or whatever they are. I don't see a need for any more. It's that simple. If you go there now, right next door or right across the street, there's empty storefronts there. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well,
Good evening.
evening.
I'm Rick Sessions. My wife Carol and I have lived in Maplewood since 1987. We go along with our neighbors in opposing the rezoning of this property for the reasons previously stated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to come forward and speak on CZ 1124? Good evening.
Good evening, Council, everyone. My name is Robert Freeman, and a resident of Goldsboro. Been here since 1973. Came here with the Air Force, and also a resident of Maplewood. And I'm a former driver's ed teacher as well. And when I saw the plan of the owners of the property and what they want to do, especially with the driveway coming out on Maplewood Drive, I saw right away that that would be a big problem. Because as already been stated, there's a whole lot of traffic that's going in and out of Maplewood Drive to come out to Berkeley, and then I hadn't heard about the pond in the back, but hearing about that, and I love children. I'm a former educator, school administrator, and I have children of my own. I see a lot of children in our neighborhood walking, and so I'm definitely opposed to this business coming in and putting a pond there. One thing, again, the safety factor for little children going through there. Also, ponds like that bring in mosquitoes. Now, mosquitoes already bad enough. Sometimes they get so bad in Goldsboro. In past years, we had to fly old C-47 and spray the area. Y'all might remember that after Hurricane Floyd. But anyway, definitely opposed to that. So I stand with my fellow neighbors in Maplewood and opposing the rezoning. Great if it remains the zoning that it is now, and they may reconsider the type of business they want to bring in. I think it's O&I, just like the nursing home right across the street there. Great, but definitely opposed to the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone else to come forward and speak for CZ 1124?
I'm ready. They're ready.
Anyone to come forward for CZ 1124?
All right. Well, my name is Rick Sumner. I'm involved in President of Wooten Development. First of all, I appreciate you guys being here, because I know it's been a long meeting. Heard some good things tonight. One thing I'd like to start off with is O&I, which already is, you still have to have a pond. That's not something I want. It's something you have to have. And it's a dry pond. I'm going with the dry pond. But I do hear the point about what if it rained. I've got kids. I understand what you're saying. So we could agree to put a fence around the dry pond. It is a dry pond. It's not a pool, so it would fill up with water maybe for an hour or whatever, or who knows. So we could put a fence around that. So that's a good point. I think in the back, we've got to have access on the back. So I think fire trucks and stuff have to get to the back of the building, but we can look into that. We could also on the back make it employee only. I'm willing to work with you on that. The idea of the parking in the back was for employees to park in the back, customers in the front. I wanted customers not to have access to the back, for the same reason y'all have been talking about. So that's why I think Ms. Weeks brought up they don't connect. The front and the back do not connect. And that's why the plan's that. We did a conditional so y'all could see the plan. So we already, and we're only talking about adding 5 businesses. We're not putting a mall there. But I do understand what you're saying about traffic. I live in a neighborhood in Goldsboro. I get that. So we can make it employee only, but I think we still have to have some kind of access on the back. Those seem to be the two big, the fence. Make sure there's a fence around the back. I hear what they're saying about the old wooden fence. Make sure there's a good fence around the back. There's obviously already trees and landscaping that we're going to be required to add. But make sure there's adequate fencing in the back. Again, the city's got to approve this. And they've already said to put fencing there. So there is a fence. We're going to make sure it's a nice fence that's there to prevent kids from getting in on the back. Also on the lighting, that was brought up. The city's got to approve the lighting. So you want to make sure the lighting points forward, not towards the back where the residents are. I get that. I live in a house. I don't want lights on my house. So we could address the lighting. So I think all the issues that have been brought up should be addressed. The only thing I hadn't thought about was putting a fence around a dry pond because I didn't think about the 1 hour that someone could get in there, so we could do that. I hear that. I'm okay if you don't want sidewalks on the side. The city requires sidewalks on the side back into Maplewood, but if you prefer me not to have sidewalks there, we could try to get that removed if you think that's going to get people walking back in the neighborhood. But I think you might want sidewalks so you could walk up there. I don't know. So, but I think the main thing is make sure people aren't driving through that neighborhood. I can't control that. It sounds like people already are doing that, but I can control it. It's employee only, and that we don't have people parking in the back. That would help. Just trying to think what I can address. It is already zoned O&I, so if I put a building there, which we already can, you're still gonna have to have a dry pond. So I don't think there's any way to remove the dry pond because that's an environmental thing. It's not something I'm asking for. It's something you have to do to deal with nitrogen runoff. Got 2 minutes, so I want to make sure I address everything. I heard someone said something about cleanliness. I try to police that the best I can. Obviously, the tenants run that, but I can talk to my existing tenants to make sure we keep that parking lot clean. But I think the biggest issue is you don't want people driving through your neighborhood back there. And so, I think I will be happy to take this feedback and work on that and make sure we got employees only in the back, fence around the pond. The dumpster, there's really, the way the plan's laid out, there's one dumpster for both properties. The property that already exists has a dumpster, and then we were going to put a dumpster in the back. We could look at maybe adjusting where that dumpster is located if you're concerned about that dumpster truck going in. So I'm willing to work with you. I take a lot of pride in what we do, so I want to make sure it works. So I think that's all I got to say. But do y'all have any questions for me while I'm here? So I appreciate y'all. And this is probably the longest council meeting I've ever been to, so I appreciate everyone hanging in there.
We're a record-setting group. Is there, given the nature of this one, we can pull people back up for individual questions. So let's just let you deliver comments that you've done right now.
I think I've hit everything. I was just I wanted them to go first, I wanted the community to go first so we could hear what the issues are so I could address them.
Right.
So I think I've hit the main thing.
Rick, would your group be amenable to restricting the uses in there if these folks?
Yeah, so we already took out, I don't like some of the uses that are across the street. I don't own the property across the street, so I want to make that clear. Some of the stuff they referred to they don't like, I don't like either. So we're not going to have bingo parlor in there. We've already taken that out. We're not going to have, I think you named a few things we already took off that were approved. So we just, the only thing that goes from O&I to neighborhood business, you have retail and restaurants. So there could be a retail place in there. There could be a restaurant place in there. But I don't want any more vape shops. We got one on every corner already. I don't want any more bingo or I think lottery or whatever. So I get that. I thought it would be a good thing for the community because I have people call me all the time wanting to put businesses places. But anyways, that's fine. But it seems like most issues safety related, and we're happy to address that.
All right, Mr. Sumner, if you would, I've seen a couple of different hands come up. Councilwoman Taylor, did you have a comment or question?
I had a question.
Question, please proceed.
What about the concern about the lighting for the residents near?
So I think zoning or planning talked about it. You have, that lighting plan has to be approved. And the lighting should be going forward, not back to the businesses, the buildings or the homes behind it. So you might have some lighting on the back door of those businesses, so they can get out and get to their car. You might have some lighting in the front, but the idea is not to shed light on the homes. So I think, if I'm correct, I think that's what you got approved, is that lighting plan. That's a good point.
Councilman Boyette, I saw your hand up as well. And then Councilwoman Matthews.
Yes.
I was just going to make a general statement and not any comments for or against at this point. But I wanted to ask a question, and I hope this is okay, Mayor. I wanted to ask the people in the audience to raise their hand to something. Is that okay?
I'd prefer not to.
Okay. Fair enough.
But definitely make your point.
Okay.
Definitely make your point.
So the developer that's here in front of us is, we all know, most of us should know, as one of the most conscientious developers that we have, and is always doing the right thing for our community. So I have no doubt that if he says he's willing to work with everyone, that he will. But where I was going with the question that I was going to have is, I did not get anyone reaching out to me that had concerns about this issue until mid-afternoon today. I received 2 emails to my city email address. So I would like to make this statement, and not only to the residents that we have that are concerned about this particular issue that's in front of us, but also to the general public that's watching this. When we have issues like what's come up here, if someone had reached out, and to me personally, if someone had reached out before this with concerns, me personally, I've got 20 years experience in planning. So from my previous service to the city, I would have been happy to meet with any citizen of the city to discuss their concerns, and may have been even able to shed some light on or insight on something, or direct you as doing my constituent service, say, well, call the planning department, or let me call the planning department and ask that question. And I'm sure any member that's sitting up here with me would say the same thing, that, reach out to us and let us help resolve these issues, because now, as we see, some of these questions could have been answered already, and I would have been tickled to death, as speaking for myself, to have helped resolve or address those issues. So I didn't want to make any comments for or against the debate of the request, but I just wanted to make that abundantly clear that we're here to serve all of our residents. And if someone has a problem or a concern or a question relating to planning in this city, no matter where you live at, my door is open, and all of us, our contact information, our phone number, email, and everything's available on the city's website. Speaking for myself, I will speak to any citizen in the city or anyone with a concern at any time, but please reach out in time enough for us to address it, not a few hours before the meeting starts. That's all I wanted to say for now, Mr. Mayor.
Understood. And Councilwoman Matthews, and then Councilman White.
So 2 quick questions. The first thing is, now I'm not a blueprint connoisseur, so just looking at this, it looks like the building that you're proposing is going to look like the one beside it. Similar. In terms of where it faces.
Yeah, because why we do this conditional is so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like.
For sure. So I think my major concern is the entryway from Maplewood Drive. So currently there is no way for anyone to get to your existing building right there, because I know you mentioned the firefighters, and our guys are pretty daggone amazing, but I don't think they're jumping the curb to get to the back of that
the
space
existing
now.
Building?
Yes, sir.
It has access around the back.
From Maplewood.
No, but I mean, it's from that property. I mean, so you come into the property that's existing, and you can go. It has a drive-through. It used to be a bank. There's a drive-through. You can go all the way around it.
What I'm saying is from Berkeley, though.
Correct.
They access it from Berkeley.
Right.
So that's my point now, is if we can still maintain a Berkeley entrance with the opportunity for them to still be able to go around the building if they needed to do that. Is that an option?
I'm okay with that, but what I heard earlier is I thought people were afraid of that happening, because if they did that, then people would go from the front and cut through. So I'm open to either. The reason we did it the way we did it is we didn't want people going from the front to the back. we wanted people to access the back, just employees and just the dumpster. We were trying to minimize the traffic to the back of the building. What you're proposing, if I go from the front, then you could have 47 cars at any time flowing through the back. So I just don't want to try to fix one problem and create another. So maybe I'm not understanding what.
Okay, slow walk me. When you say, because I get it, because I use that cash press over there occasionally. What I'm saying is the ability for someone to access your businesses through Maplewood Drive. So I get what you're saying about, but there's no outlet for them. So if they're going to drive around, they're literally going to have to do almost like a U-turn or a circle to get back out if they happen to go around your building. What I'm saying is not allowing people to access the back of your building or any part of either of your buildings from Maplewood Drive.
Okay. I don't understand. Well,
no.
Okay, so that's my first question.
Okay.
But my second one, real quick, is with some of the concerns. I appreciate your willingness to really hear the concerns and to make those provisions. And you said you would take those things back.
Yeah.
Is it imperative that we make this decision tonight? Because I'm pretty sure everyone would appreciate those things being answered when you take them back versus us going ahead and making the decision. And then what if they go back and they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't.
I think what Mark said, or what he said earlier, is that we've got, when they still have to approve it.
For sure.
So we can now add in there. What I'm saying right now, we can add in there's got to be a fence around the pond. So I think Mr. Whiteover brought that up. You don't want no one wants anyone drowning. I don't want it either. So put a fence around the dry pond. The access in the back, though, I think you have to have. I think you need to have access to the back of the building. So, you're either gonna have to provide it from the front or Maplewood. So, I'm trying to do a solution that doesn't get people driving through. But
maybe I'm not asking it right, so I'm gonna allow maybe someone else to do it. I'm only saying.
Could you close Maplewood access point and make it to the point where you can access it off Berkeley and also drive around your building without an access to Maplewood?
Just tied into your neighborhood.
Is that something possible? Yeah. Going to explore it, I guess.
But what I'm saying is, it kind of looks like that now.
Right.
Like because I've gone to the Thai restaurant over there too.
Yeah.
Right now, I can only get to your existing property by turning off from Berkeley.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, can we still maintain that by creating an additional turn-in, but only off Berkeley? If that.
I'm sure we can explore. I get what you're saying. I think the thought process is you have access for the employees to park in the back and access for the dumpster in the back.
Just like it is now. I'm just saying, can we duplicate what already exists now?
You could basically take out the Maplewood connection and connection to the side one.
Guys, let's get this back. Let's get this back in order. All right. Right now, Councilwoman Matthews has the floor and is asking a very specific question. Asking a very specific question of would you be willing to explore, or would you be willing to commit to doing away with the Maplewood entrance? And this has come up a few different times, so I don't mind phrasing this in a pretty specific question. Doing away with the Maplewood entrance and then allowing the entrance off of Berkeley for a trash truck or otherwise to be able to get to the back side of the building, following essentially the same footprint of the other building that's already there.
Yeah, I think we could look at that. I'm not saying that's not a deal killer. We could look at that. It's fine.
Yeah, because that
and hold on, I apologize.
Okay.
And then
let's go
directly to that question.
Make sure we meet your needs.
All right. And then, Councilwoman, does that conclude your question at this time?
Yeah, that was just my
And we can always come back to everybody. Councilman White, the floor is yours now.
Yeah, just to address what Councilman Boyette had just tried to poll out the constituents of District 6. I do know that y'all reached out earlier this weekend and all over the weekend, so you didn't wait to the last minute. You did the proper thing and contacted your district, representative. So I really appreciate you for that. Now I will honor that we all have expertise up here and we'll provide assistance. But you did do the right thing by reaching out to your district councilman. So I appreciate you for that. That's all.
Any other questions?
And you had your hand up a second. Councilman Boyette, if you still have a question or comment.
Yeah, just a comment. So the access, and this I guess will end up being a question for you because I'm looking at the site plan. I don't see an answer for this. So the access off of Maplewood Drive is for those 16 employee parking places. There's no way to get from that parking lot, and will be no way to get from that parking lot to the front.
That's correct.
So the way the site plan is laid out now, as Councilwoman Matthews pointed out, if you provided continuous access behind the back of the building, then you would be opening up that, which is exactly what we don't want. So to take that a step further, if we completely close off Maplewood, completely,
right,
then to her point, as now you can drive behind the existing building,
mm-hmm,
is there a way to reorient the site plan somehow or another to where you could just continue to drive down behind both buildings, which would allow access, but no access to Maplewood?
We just need to look at that. I mean, that could be a possibility. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because what she's saying, if you access it from that side, from behind the existing building, you come right on down to the new building,
right,
but yet you can't come out to the side street, then
we just need to look at it. I think we can look at it, and it sounds like that would meet a lot of people's concerns if we could figure out some way to do that, and also make sure the pond is safe.
Then before we can approve, it makes sense to me that, and Mark, Mr. Helmer, Mr. Livingston, correct me if I'm wrong on procedure here. It makes sense to me that I should request a motion from council to table this at the second meeting in February, which would be the next time that we take up planning issues. Allow you to address any concerns, put a revised plan in place at that time for consideration of council, and then we could vote on it if it's the pleasure of council at the second meeting in February. I believe that would be the appropriate procedural thing to do. I'm getting head nods. I heard a yes. Is that the form of a motion?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a second to table this? Thank you. I don't even have to repeat it.
Can I use my last 14 seconds?
Do what?
Yeah.
I'll make it quick.
Finish your last 14 seconds.
All I was going to say is thank y'all for your feedback. I'd rather get it ironed out now than later and have y'all sending me hate mail for the rest of my life or whatever. So we're going to work it out. We're going to figure it out. And I think we got some good feedback. And I think these are doable solutions. So I think it's good.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you. You have a seat. And Mr. Helmer, so I think you can stay seated just for a second. So there is currently a motion on the table to continue this public hearing to a date certain, which would be the second meeting in February, at which point we would continue the public hearing. Plans can be revised in between that time. That motion was made and properly seconded. Is there any debate on the motion to table or to continue this public hearing to a date certain? The motion was made and properly seconded.
Thank you.
All right.
Date certain again for the record.
The date certain will be the second meeting in the month of February.
Or 17th.
Whatever that is. All right. Is there any further debate on the? Is there any further debate on the motion to table, or a motion to continue? Excuse me. All right. Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor of the motion to continue the hearing to a date certain, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. This public hearing, CZ 1124, is continued to the second meeting in the month of February. We'll see if any adjustments have been made at that time. All right, thank you everybody for your participation. This is how we get good stuff. All right, we'll allow folks to make an exit.
Hey.
I just wanted to.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
We're out of that public hearing.
Okay.
We'll be moving into CZ 1224 in
I
just a moment.
appreciate all of you being here and all staying,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I know that it's this is part of your job and that's part of his job, but for 3.5 hours the residents have been here, so
Yeah.
I guess I would just like you to consider that too, and I
Yes.
appreciate you taking all of our.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I think folks forget that we're basically volunteering our time as well. But I'm glad that we're doing it. We want to make sure that we're getting good, respectful, and valuable development. All right, council. Seeing nothing further on 8.1 at this time, let's move forward to 8.2. This is now actually, Mr. Helmer, if you please come forward and give us the brief on conditional zoning request 1224.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next case is
if I get the clicker to work. Clicker, if you can hear me.
I gotta get a piece of chocolate.
Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully we'll get this technical difficulty sorted out here shortly. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and start briefing you on this. This is conditional zoning 12-24 Duke Energy Progress LLC. The property in question is north side of Belfast Road, adjacent to and east of Interstate Highway 795. Address proper is 236 Belfast Road. And for the record, the parcel number is 3601-23-1254. Again, the property owner is Duke Progress Energy. The applicant is requesting an amendment to an existing general industrial conditional zoning district for the purpose of the construction of a telecommunication tower at the present site of the Duke Energy Progress Operations Center. You may remember this case from earlier in the year. The conditional zoning was approved, and now the applicant is back and is requesting a communications cell tower. So we're essentially modifying the existing conditional zoning to add the use of cell tower. And while we're at it, we're looking at a revised site plan showing the location of the cell tower, along with some technical documents showing the heights and documenting the setbacks of the district. They've also asked for some specific deviations from the Unified Development Ordinance, and I'll be glad to go over those with you too. But we have forwarded this request to the Air Force Base, as well as informed the Wayne County Municipal Airport. We've gotten a letter, the project has gotten a letter from the FAA stating that the proposed tower will not pose or will not interfere with aircraft operations in the area. The airport is actually just several miles to the north and east of the subject property. So this tower is important to the day-to-day operations required by Duke Smart Grid, the new generation of energy grid supported by digital technology. This upgrade will provide additional security for Duke Energy Progress assets, as the tower will secure and transmit data to and from Operations Center, the substations, and support the small technology improvements made to increase reliability and quality of the service to its customers. The tower also provides an essential communication function following major storms using Duke Land mobile radio systems, a tool that Duke first responders use to help make repairs to the critical infrastructure when restoring services to the customer. So this is a key component of their operations, and is they will play a critical role when major storm events or other calamities occur in the area. So with that, the Planning Commission has reviewed this proposal and is recommending approval. I will say that, like the original request, it is consistent with the comprehensive land use plan, which now identifies the property as suitable for industrial uses. The property is currently zoned I-2 conditional zoning, so it is also consistent with the existing zoning. The deviations that I spoke about earlier were essentially that the applicant is requesting a deviation from let me find that section here. In your packet also there are technical drawings that shows the actual construction. It'll be a monopole design. It'll be located adjacent to the proposed building, and it will meet the setbacks. Maximum height of the cell tower is 120 feet. The proposed setback is 150 feet, 150% of the proposed height, and the structure is well outside of 300 feet of the right-of-way of 7 apologize for not having that memorized. Interstate 759. Or?
This application shall be exempt from the approval calling 1, 2, and 3, and 4 of section 5.54J, which essentially is.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of section 5.5.4.J, which is essentially requirements that would normally apply to most cell towers, which is they have to document that there's a need for the service that they're providing, and that there are no existing towers that they can use to provide that service. So, such as like a hole in the coverage area, like a low spot or something, they have to show that those folks need the service, and they have to show that there are no existing towers where they can co-locate to provide service to that area. So they're requesting exemption from that. They're also asking for some deviations from the security requirements. They're essentially going to be doing a security fence for the laydown yard, which this will be inside of a secured fenced area, so they're not wanting to put additional fencing in, is what I understand. They're also requesting that no co-locations by third parties be required. The proposed tower may be relocated anywhere within the property as a minor change to the approved plan, so long as the proposed location adheres to the applicable sections of 5.5.4.J, which is the setbacks that I spoke about. And they're also requesting that in the event the tower is replaced, that the old tower can remain for 90 days. After the new tower is put in place, and that the new tower be administratively approved. So to enhance security and sensitivity utility infrastructure, the applicant may utilize non-opaque chain link security fence with barbed wire on top in lieu of a solid opaque fence. So generally staff has no concerns with any of these deviations from the UDO. Staff does recommend approval, and Planning Commission at their last meeting also recommended approval. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any comments or questions for Mr. Helmer at this point? Hearing none, we'll let you step down. As our practice, we'll next invite the applicant up to come and deliver a brief, and then after that we'll actually move into the public hearing. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I had a presentation that I emailed over. Did you get it?
It's the clickers there.
It's right there. Perfect.
I didn't receive a presentation.
Right behind.
Yeah. Yep. Here we go.
Okay,
All right.
send that
Perfect.
one.
That's okay. I just like to ask.
All good.
Good evening. Mayor and council members, we appreciate being here this evening. My name is Amy Kraut. I'm an attorney at Smith Anderson. I'm representing Duke in this rezoning. As staff mentioned, this really is an amendment to the operations center that was rezoned back in December of 2023. The only reason we're here isn't to change really the site plan, it's just to add the pole to the rezoning. That's it. I think the planning staff gave a great background of this, so I'm not going to get too far into it, but just we did originally prohibit some heavier uses in that industrial district. That was one of our initial conditions. Communication pole, what is it and why is it necessary? Just want to clarify something because I think that it'll make the proposed zoning conditions make a little bit more sense. This isn't a 300-foot tower where there's going to be multiple carriers. There's not AT&T, Verizon. This is just used for Duke's internal purposes, which is why we don't allow anyone to co-locate on the pole, and we don't co-locate on anyone else's pole. It's 120 feet. It operates in line of sight with other Duke poles, which is why the 120 feet is necessary. And as mentioned, the FAA and Seymour Johnson both said there's no hazard to air navigation on this. And it's a key part of Duke's infrastructure. It helps reduce power outage time, and it serves as like an essential communication function, especially during storm outages. at a couple other slides, but that's okay. I did just kind of want to note that in the proposed conditions, we are just asking, one, that it will be an allowed use in the conditional zoning. 2, getting rid of any of those co-location requirements. That's the proposed condition. 3, that we're not required to separately fence the pole, that the existing outdoor storage fence will be sufficient for that. So it will be fully fenced in. No one can access it. Another condition is that fencing can be non-opaque so you can see through it. That's a security measure that Duke always requests. And we thought we had gotten that through in the original rezoning request. And we did. This is just an extra clarification to make sure that there's no question about that. Again, no co-locations, and then just an administrative thing, if the tower has to be shifted anywhere within the property, that it still fits in those setbacks, that we can do that without having to come before you again. So those really are the proposed rezoning conditions that we have. Otherwise, this tower is really kind of located centrally in this site. The minimum setback from any property line is 235 feet, but it's about 800 feet away from the Belfast Road and the back property line, and about 300 feet from the 4th property line, so well exceeding the 150% needed. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, any comments or questions from the applicant? All right, hearing none, we'll allow you to have a seat, and if we have any questions, we'll call you back up. Mr. Helmer, I do have a quick question for you if you'd come back up. The stated conditions, and I'm skimming here, so if I'm missing them, please correct me. Is there anywhere in the brief or the consistency statement that includes the specific 3 or 4 points it was that the applicant just rattled off?
Actually, no. We've added those conditions to the to an ordinance that is available for your signature. However, there is currently that was missed in our first draft of this ordinance. Of this report. But we do have an updated document. Okay. For this, it was part of their application. It's part of the record, but it was not in the report. It is in a revised draft ordinance. Okay.
Mr. Livingston and Ms. Getz, procedurally, maybe this is a wrong question to say. Procedurally, the one in front of us, if I'm hearing you correctly, does not include all the language that it was supposed to. So we need to approve a document that is not currently in front of us, right?
That approve the conditions as part of that your motion.
Or I need to ask the applicant to come back and let me take quicker notes and get each of them.
I thought he said the ordinance was updated, but the report.
Yeah, the actual ordinance. Yeah, we submitted a revised ordinance. I'm not sure if it made it to the agenda or not. I will say this though,
it wouldn't have. I think you would know. Right.
Okay. So I was working with staff earlier and trying to get this sorted out, and I apologize.
Okay. So
now
guys, we got to be.
So the solution is just to ask them to state their conditions that they would like as part of the adopted conditional use zoning.
Okay. And again, if they are in here and I'm missing them, I do.
So is this not, are you saying, Mayor, that this is not being specific enough here? On this ordinance?
Tell me what
I'm on page 151. I mean, the ordinance is dated
if you're all the way down there, it's there. Okay,
and it's got the conditions listed.
It does. I was on the brief. That's why I asked if it was in here. So thank you. Okay, so it is the ordinance. The ordinance that is included the last page of the agenda does include is hereby amended by changing Judge GI2, and of course there's a for and against included, but the one that is for would include the construction of a 120-foot tall communications tower, a site-specific development plan documenting the conditions for and It does not include.
You're correct. It does not.
It does not include the items.
Does not include the additional conditions we're placing on it at this meeting, but you can still, move forward if you so choose.
Perfect. So with that, if I could have y'all swap places, if I could have from you, if you would please state for me those conditions one more time so that I can just get them stated for the record.
And do you have the application in front of you?
I believe so.
Because they are listed in the
That
application.
would actually say it was the step limit. Hold on.
Let's wrote it down.
Fortunately, your chunk of the agenda packet is.
Would that be under the proposed zoning condition deviations?
Yes.
That's page
Yeah, I see it.
143.
It's here.
Perfect.
Yep.
It's in the
Perfect.
application.
So I can just simply recite those, right?
143.
Recite those, you can refer to page 143 of the agenda.
Lovely.
Which contains, or you
Okay.
show them specifically, that's up to you.
All right.
All right. So to everyone, so we make sure we're all
That
talking
means your
about.
approval if it cites that specific page.
If it cites
And what you need.
specific change.
Okay.
Yep. As long as there's no question what's approved, we're fine with that.
That's what
Okay.
she's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that she needs to take a look at page 143, proposed zoning conditions / deviations, and see if that's exactly what y'all are talking about to be consistent.
Should be
Got
able to
access
get
to
it
that.
up on the screen.
Yeah, they're.
Yes.
Let,
Good.
those are correct. All right. Perfect. Just want to make sure that we're all. That we know exactly what it is that we're approving. Trying to move slow enough, efficiently enough to get through this, but slow enough that we get it correct. So,
We're getting tired.
yeah, I'm right there with you. So we are currently in CZ 1224. Is there anyone else to come forward and speak at the public hearing for CZ 1224? Our third and final call. Anyone to come forward and speak for conditional zoning 1224 Duke Energy Progress? All right, we will close the public hearing. Public hearing being closed. Council, are there any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none. Can entertain a motion to approve or to deny. If it is to approve, it would also need to include the conditions as laid out on page 143 of the agenda packet.
Motion to approve to include the proposed zoning conditions and deviations on page 143 of our agenda packet.
All right, perfect. Motion has been made and properly seconded. As stated, any comments, questions, debate? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. All right. Thank you, everybody. CZ 1224 is approved with the added conditions and deviations as stated in page 143 of the agenda packet. So with that, we have concluded our business for this evening. We'll move toward our city manager's report. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor. As you might have seen in the last weekly update, I've sent out a draft agenda, which is pretty much, I think we're pretty much set, so I wanted to entertain if there's any questions or comments about, that's our next public meeting that we're going to have is the retreat. So there's a lot of topic information on there, a lot of
You're good.
a lot of material that you guys wanted to for us to address. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was good with it, and if they had any questions before we finalize that agenda.
I'll certainly encourage council, if you haven't yet, to take a look at the retreat agenda that staff has prepared. It is robust, and go ahead and get some questions. There will be a lot of materials distributed prior to the retreat, but if you have any questions, please go ahead and engage.
That's all I've got, Mayor.
That's all you got? All right. So with that, we will move into mayor and council member comments. It's the first meeting of the month. As such, we'll begin on that end of the dais. As representative from District 1 is now pro tem, sitting directly here to my right. Councilman, I'll begin with you from District 2, if that's okay.
Perfectly okay. Thank you, Mayor. Couple things, as always. Thank you to our hardworking city employees for all that you do. You're valued and appreciated, and this city could not run without you. And as I say every time, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. and I'm glad to say it each week. Next thing, I hope everyone had a fabulous holiday break. I know I did. Enjoyed time with family and friends, and chomping at the bit now to get back to the grind. So, and get some things done. As we've heard tonight from a couple of the presentations that we've had that we asked for, particularly this time related to pavement and organizational structure and so forth, we as a council have some very big decisions to make, and some pretty big obstacles in front of us that, if we are going to address, is going to require some serious figuring out. If we're going to address some of the things that we have an opportunity to address, or are we just going to roll on by because of the complexity of it. We'll have to figure that out. So that I just wanted to say that. Next thing, I wanted to touch back on what I said earlier, particularly now to our folks at home. Don't hesitate to reach out to us when you have questions. This again, the one situation a while ago, I wasn't aware that there was any concerns until this afternoon, and so it was a little. I would have liked to have been able to got that worked out, but we're on the fly here. We had to postpone it to figure it out later, because I can certainly say that as we all have seen, that the city has its obstacles from a financial standpoint to figure out how to best use the tax dollars that we have, and how to make the best of that. And so I can certainly speak for myself and say that I'm never interested in a no vote for development. My opinion is, can we work it out to the satisfaction of all concerned, so that we can grow our tax base and have access to that revenue from the development? Because if the answer is no, if we can't work it out, then that's money that's not in the cash register that, as you can see, is desperately needed in trying to figure out things going forward. So again, the answer should, for me, is always going to be, let's see if we can figure it out and get things done. I just think that's the best way forward with stuff like that, and I'm happy to do my part in helping make that happen, and trying to get things done and grow our city, and particularly make sure that we're mindful of not saying no when we don't need to. We don't want to put ourselves in a situation to where we open ourselves up for litigation because decision was made that wasn't in step with procedure or zoning or whatever in that matter. So I just that's all my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman, floor is yours.
My turn. Okay, so I just want to say I enjoyed the presentations, the pavement presentation and the organizational and compensation study presentation, along with the night to shine. I also want to thank Felicia Williams for coming up here and just really showing her concern with the homeless population and the problem that we do have in our city, and be willing to just show us her emotions when it comes to that. And then I also want to thank the residents of Maplewood for coming out and voicing their concerns, so we as a council can hear them and visualize what it's like to live somewhere where that kind of stuff is a concern, so, because I like to put myself in their position to make sure, like, if that was something that was coming by my house, that I would be able to voice those concerns and let people know how I feel as well. And most importantly, for us to be able to come here and take those concerns into consideration and give it time before we just make just a decision that day or night. And that's it.
Thank you. Burton, floor is yours.
Yes, I'm trusting that everybody had a good holiday. and looking forward to a prosperous new year. First, I would like to thank Wayne Opportunity Center for inviting us to the Christmas party. It was really nice. Many of you, it is a 501c3 private nonprofit organization that provides services for the intellectual disabled and disability individuals in our community, and it is a very important center in our community. And I want to thank, I was very glad to see my council people there, and I'm also happy to be a part of that board and to work into New Year to get some new things. Secondly, I would ask the council if you have time on January 9th at 5 o'clock. Wages is going to have something kind of like a round table, and it's going to talk about child care. And child care is a very important piece in our economic growth. So if you get a chance to go and talk about that, that's one of my hearts too, because parents need to work, they need child care, they need to have a good time too, to go out and to have child care. So that's one of the things that I think that we as a city council should also think very hard about it. And as we go into the new year, I'd like for us to take on January 19th, 2024, we had a strategic planning session, and we mapped out areas that was very important. And I'd like for us to continue to go back. And I thank you, Mayor, for what you placed on the Facebook, how well we've done as a council. And I want us to continue. You know, teamwork is very, very important. And we can't make it without teamwork. There's not anyone on this council that do not have good ideas and that are not intelligent and do not have wisdom and have concern about our city. And I would like to continue to see that as we go forth and look at the priorities for our city and continue to work on them. And for me, I promise you that I will continue to be a team player, and I will continue to work with each and every one of you if you allow me to, and even if you don't, if I can, I'm gonna try. So thank you for tonight. I think this was a great council meeting. We got a lot of things done. Some of us talk a lot, some of us do not, but we got a lot of things accomplished. And thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman, floor is yours.
To my beloved District 4, constantly looking for ways that we can interact, get together, how can I support you and keep you engaged and informed. So I have secured us a conference call number, and we will now be having monthly conference calls every last Thursday of the month. I have posted the official notice and access code and phone numbers to the website, to my councilwoman page, but I am going to say it out loud. I am not going to be the conference call police, so it is not just limited to District 4. I invite council and other members in the community to join those calls. The first one is going to be January the 29th at 6 p.m. So encouraging everyone who's willing to join us for that. The number is 605-313-5490. To access the call, you would need to put in 735-6335 and then hit the pound sign. But please go to the councilwoman page to get all that information, and I look forward to hearing you on the 29th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman, floor is yours.
My first comment is to District 6. I want to publicly thank all of you guys for showing up tonight. My email box was flooded with comments from District 6 because there was a lot of those that maybe had some confusion as to which district belonged to which councilman. But I want to say, when you reach out to me with questions or concerns, it comes with no stipulations. If you have to call me, even if it's right before the meeting, I want you to feel free to call anytime. So I'm extremely grateful for every single person that left work today, for your voice to be heard. I think we accomplished a lot, and I also want to honor Rick Sumner Rick, you handled yourself in an extremely business, classy way. So everybody involved, the parties work very well together. The next thing is for our unhoused community. I know it's been very cold. If anybody is looking for housing, or maybe even someone is even looking to be detoxed or looking for rehab, there are 3 great organizations, Salvation Army, Tommy's Foundation, and also 4-Day Movement that are doing assessments. Housing is available. Free detox is available. If you know anybody that needs to be detoxed, feel free to reach out to my email box. I will personally make sure that you have a way to get to detox. Detox and rehab and housing is available for our unhoused community if you need resources or if you need housing. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilman, floor is yours.
First of all, I'd like to thank District 6 for coming out tonight. You never cease to amaze me when there's a concern in our district. I like the way you come out in numbers. I like the way that you did utilize your city councilman and you did the right thing. So I will reiterate that again. I thank you for allowing me to broker the deal or the things that you had concerns with and we talked about. So I really appreciate that. Lion King Jr. is this weekend over at the Paramount. $20 for adults, $10 for kids. It's a very great program that's taking our inner city kids and trying to change their mindset by introducing them to the arts. So it is a great opportunity to go and support our community, our kids, our babies, because they're really doing a great job. Also, I would like to say that the MLK will be next week. We hope that we have a great turnout there, and I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, just a couple of closing comments. Council, the biggest things that we as a council do are the hiring of a manager, the setting of a budget, and then of course we're asked to hold hearings for specific pieces of business like different pieces of land use. But nothing is more important than ensuring that we are hiring a manager that we trust, that we work with, and who is competent. We have a premier search consultant that we have reached out to help us with this process. I think they're doing a wonderful job. I know they have engaged council on a number of different things to make sure that every council member's feedback is included in the job posting that actually goes out. I just want to thank everybody publicly for the work that you're doing, responding to those emails and giving them the information that they need to be able to ensure that every person up here's voice is incorporated into that posting as it goes out and as we do that search over the next few months. Next, don't forget we are coming up on budget season. We had to overlap these two things. It's just the nature of the world sometimes. The budget planning process with interim manager Matt Livingston is going very well. They're going ahead and getting departments engaged early. We're having a retreat to talk about strategic priorities. It's not going to be the same retreat that you've had in years past where that every department comes up for 30 minutes and does their spiel. It's more of a strategic kind of retreat. It's talking about high priority items. It's talking about categorical interests. It's trying to lay out a strategy so that the council's law and finance committee and the manager and the interim manager, Mr. Livingston, you all know what I'm talking about, and the department heads can try to pull together a budget early enough so we're not trying to do this thing in May. We're getting this thing done in April, or we're not up against a deadline, or we're not having to be here at 2 in to get something done that's a last minute change. I also want to remind everybody that as we've shifted agenda formats a little bit, we will be shifting to Civic Plus as moving a little bit away from paper and kind of mirroring what county government and a few other municipal governments do. So we'll be really relying on our iPads or laptops, whatever you want to have up here with you for doing votes. It'll allow the minutes to be produced a little bit quicker for our clerk on the back end. The council, please do respond back to the clerk if you haven't already about training opportunities to make sure that we're all good to go on Civic Plus when that hits. Last, I want to say this. We heard two very, very expensive budget items earlier today. We got to see how all this is going to play out. Don't freak out. Don't get overly excited. Just understand it's a data point. Both of them are data points, and we've got to figure out how to implement them. You know, one of the key data points for the asphalt, for example, was a 6-year thing. Okay, well, can we do it in 6 years? Can we afford to do it in 6 years? How much lobbying do we have to go to be able to get some assistance to be able to get to that point where we can do it in 6 years? If we could get it to 6 years, could we afford to keep it at that rate? I don't know. But the point is, we're trying to get information in front of council and to the public for discussion and dissemination early enough that we can have these discussions without having to do it right under the crunch of a deadline. So with that, I know it's just before 10 o'clock. Everyone's ready to go home. Mr. Livingston sticking his finger up.
I forgot to mention we have a ribbon cutting for travel and tourism this Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Say that one more time.
A ribbon cutting for the grand opening. The chamber will be doing a ribbon cutting for the travel and tourism office.
All right.
It's just an alibi. We're doing a child care summit in Fayetteville on the 14th at Fayetteville Tech Community College. We're having DOD come down as well as child care where will be in the house. We got all the right people in the room except for legislators, and I do understand why they're not going to be there. But we have a lot of local leaders that will be there to have a great conversation, and maybe we'll walk away with some takeaways that we can kind of help our community.
That's a positive thing.
What's that date?
14th of January.
Yes, sir. And then we'll close.
Speaking of events, I didn't realize till a few minutes ago that the Night to Shine date is in conflict with the annual dinner for the chamber. And just FYI, I've already RSVP'd for the chamber dinner, so maybe we can split up and try to make sure we hit both events. Just FYI.
We'll figure that part out. But I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. That hurts. That hurts. Council, as I open it back up for a couple other closing comments, does anyone else have a closing comment? If not, we stand adjourned.